Mitch from pickdogs.com and sportschatplace.com. I got the Puck Dogs with me, and we're going to talk NFL draft quarterback position. We're also going to give out those sim picks. We haven't missed one yet. Perfect 6-0 on this show. So I don't know why that is, but I'm going to guess because they play closer to
We take
form.
it.
I think in the sim picks that there's less chance of other things happening, and they play more true to form that you would suspect that these type of games would play out. And it's not, that it certainly hasn't been all favorites winning. That's for sure. But just the way things match up and the way things that they should go on paper, it seems that's the way they're going. So I don't know if that sticks or if it doesn't stick. I'm not sure. But
No zebra anyway, though. no referee blow calls.
I've never seen the sim game, so I'm not even sure how that works. But
Just like a regular game, it looks exactly like players playing a regular football game. Graphics are so good these days.
Yeah.
Well,
I've yet to.
we have it's a good quarterback crop at the top of this class. There's a lot of teams looking at quarterbacks. There's probably going to be some movement up here as well. And I think there's some value in the middle of the pack as well, and some guys that could end up playing other positions. So, we want to get things started quickly. Don't want to have too long of a show. But the number one quarterback in this draft is the Heisman winner, Joe Burrow. A lot of people have him rated as the number one overall player in this draft. Some people have Chase Young there. It's kind of back and forth. It really doesn't matter at this point. He's likely slated to be the number one player by the Cincinnati Bengals. If the Bengals trade that pick for some reason, my guess it will be someone who wants to take Joe Burrow. Chris, anything here on Joe Burrow? 6'3", 221 pounds. Ohio State transfer to LSU. Played on a pretty loaded team, but he played against some serious competition as well. Seems to make a lot of the right decisions. Seems to be able to throw the deep ball. Seems to have all the tools. Anything here besides being a Cincinnati Bengal that can blow this pick right out of the water?
No, not for me. I mean, I think he's the number one pick. I mean, he threw for almost 5,700 yards, 60 touchdowns, 6 picks. I mean, the picks, 10-1 touchdown to interception ratio. It's fantastic as it is. And I mean, he's not a complete dual threat quarterback, but he can run, he can scramble if he has to. So I think he's the perfect fit for Cincinnati. I see him number one still.
I think the Bengals are unloading some players and doing some other things. So this is a team that he has some supporting cast. It's not like he's going to have to do it alone. Joe Mixon can certainly carry the football there. AJ Green is going to be back at wide receiver, so he'll have that safety net. But this is clearly a team that's going to need some work. I mean, they're drafting number one for a reason. Rod, any comments here on Joe Burrow?
Well, we definitely know he's going to the Bengals, unless they trade that away, but I don't think so. I think he's definitely going to be a Bengal for sure. Go as the number one pick. And then we'll see how he does. The Bengals aren't a loaded team. They've got some pieces, but if they throw him into the Wolves right away, he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, he's going to get thrown right into the Wolves because they've got nothing else.
Yeah.
And the problem is you go to the AFC North as well, where they're not a very kind division. So
everyone in the NFL can play. So
no, they can't. I'm just saying you get into the AFC North, and that seems to be regarded as one of the more defensive, harder hitting, more physical divisions in the NFL.
He's going to get a hit.
Oh, he's going to get hit. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But everyone gets hit in the NFL.
Yeah.
Go to our second quarterback on the board is listed as Tua Tagovailoa, however you want to pronounce it. Here's a guy that I know he's slated to go to the Dolphins. At this point, some of the people have him going to the Dolphins. I can only hope that either the Lions come in here and snag him, or somebody else trades up into that spot to take him. I am not a fan at all. When he played against the better teams, he got pushed around a lot, and I'm telling you, he had every kind of weapon in the world. We went over the wide receivers yesterday. They were all Bama receivers. He has 3 guys that are potential first-round picks. We didn't even go over Jalen Waddle yesterday. Sprinter for the Tide. But I think when the pass rush comes on, it seems that when this guy gets hit and he gets knocked 20 yards in the air, backwards. And he's quick, but he's not sprinter Skylar Murray fast, and he's not overly big. 6 foot 217. He does throw a great ball. We'll give him that. He can throw the deep ball, and he throws a great ball. But to me, if Drew Brees was too short for you, then how is this guy not? Anyways, Chris, what are you thinking?
No, I definitely agree with you. He does have a great arm. He's got the accuracy. He's got power behind it. But it's like we saw last season, and this is my concern for when he translates to the pros. Is durability going to be an issue? He's going to get hit at 6 foot, and he's going to run into guys who are a lot bigger than he is. And,
well, as a member of the Miami Dolphins, he's going to get hit, or Detroit Lions, who are also rumored to take him.
Yeah. And,
better have a good right tackle.
Yeah, he had that. Well, he had that dislocated hip last year that ended the season, had an ankle injury. He's good if he can stay on the field, and that's, I think, going to be the big if.
I've been wrong about quarterbacks in the past. I've been right about some of them too, but this is a guy that I just don't see it. Rod, what do you think with Tua? Some people love this guy.
If you don't have a right tackle, if you don't have a half decent right tackle to cover his blind side, he's going to get rocked.
Yeah, he's going to get rocked.
Raw.
Well, the Dolphins don't have anybody on the line. They're going to have to draft their entire line this time. Good.
Yeah, because he's a left-handed thrower. He's a left-handed hucker, so receivers are going to have to adjust to that. There are not as many left-handed quarterbacks out there.
Next quarterback on the board who I like is Justin Herbert. He has dropped a little bit in these draft rankings. We've seen him to all different teams, and right now, some people have him rated the 3rd quarterback, some people have him the 4th. I personally would rather have him than Tua. I just think there's bigger upside there. He's 6'6", 236 pounds. I generally don't like the quarterbacks that are too tall, and I don't like the ones that are too short. I kind of like them at 6'2", 6'3" range, right where Joe Burrow is. But, the thing is that Justin Herbert has shown that he can throw the deep ball. He's shown that he's tough. He's shown that he can, win against the good teams. He doesn't need to be favored by 1,000,000 points like Tua Tagovailoa does. He seems to get it done no matter what. And I think when he destroyed Utah, that really showed a lot about him. Anyways, Chris, what do you think of Justin Herbert? A lot of people down on him.
No, I'd say Justin Herbert. I would also take him over Tua, but I mean, how can you go wrong? 6'6". He built almost like a linebacker, 6'6", 225, 230. The only concern I have with Justin Herbert, this was from watching a couple games of Oregon's last year, if that pocket starts to collapse, his decision making starts to waver a little bit. I know it's the case with a lot of quarterbacks, especially it's going to be the case going to the pros. But I just, if he goes to the Chargers, they just trade away Russell Okung on the left tackle. I just think that he needs to just work on the decision making a little bit, and we'll say poise in the pocket if it starts to collapse. But other than that, he's going to be a fantastic pro quarterback.
How about you, Rod? What are you thinking about Herbert?
He's a good guy, but do we have any quarterbacks that are good that have come out of Oregon?
Yes, a lot actually. Dan Fouts came out of Oregon. He was a Hall of Famer, and probably I think it's one of the top as far as passing yards go. Before the modern day NFL, he basically pioneered what is the modern offense. So yes, there have been some great Oregon quarterbacks. Actually, yeah, really good. I mean, one of the greatest of greats of all time. A revolutionary quarterback, a guy who invented the spread offense. You know, it is.
Right.
So Marcus Mariota, I mean, is the most recent quarterback, and I know that up until then, we haven't seen a ton. The guy for the Steelers this past season, he came out of Oregon as well. So, I just think that it's tough to go on that. Durant Thomas was more of a running back. Jeremiah Masoli was a little bit of a letdown. Dennis Dixon, he played for the Steelers. Keller Clemens played. Jason Fife. Joey Harrington was a bust. A.J. Feely had a decent NFL career. Achilles Smith was a bust. High pick by the Bengals. Tony Graziani, Bill Musgrave, he had an NFL career. Mike Jorgensen had an NFL career. I mean, Dan Fouts was way back in the 70s. Norv Turner also QB'd at Oregon, the offensive coordinator. Who's
Right.
been around forever. So, when you look at almost any team, they have a list that looks somewhat like this. It's rare that you have, a team where, they're just spitting out quarterbacks every year.
Yeah. Yeah, he's tall. He can stand in the pocket. I think he'll be good. I'll take him over too any day.
I would take him over to any day of the week, but I don't know if that's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Tua's got.
So we got the next quarterback up is Jordan Love, and he's coming out after his junior season. He's a guy that I think could use another year, personally. This guy is rising up in the rankings like no one's business. You want to talk about a school that doesn't have a lot of quarterbacks coming out? It's Utah State. Chris, I know you're big on Jordan Love. What do you think of Jordan Love?
I do like Jordan Love, but I'm still not overly a fan of this position. I mean, there's still a couple guys further down that I still like more than Jordan Love. If you were giving me Jordan Love with his 2018 numbers, where he had 32 touchdowns, 6 picks, and then last year he regressed. The yardage production was still there. He threw for over 3,400 yards, but he still had 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. So that's my concern a little bit. I do like Jordan Love, and I know a lot of people or a lot of mock drafts had him slated possibly to go to the Patriots. I wouldn't complain, but there are quarterbacks on the board that I do like more than Jordan Love.
I don't see him lasting that long. I'm not a fan of combine guys. I like guys that do it on the field, and to me, Jordan Love is a combine guy.
He should have stayed another year.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to. He doesn't. When I watched him play, he doesn't. He stares down his receiver. He just stares him down and watches him, and the defenders are going to key in on that. He doesn't know how to look him off.
Against the better teams, he certainly did not show up. Against LSU, they got absolutely waxed.
Yeah. Oh, when you see the quarterback's eyes staring at the one guy.
A lot of that had to do with the fact that he was just too slow in his progressions and in his fundamentals.
Move on to.
He also got.
Go ahead.
He also got voted most overrated in this draft.
I think he's up there. I think him and Tua are for me, the guys that I think Tua is the most overrated.
Yeah.
We go to another guy who I think is way overrated as well, and that's Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason, of course, he was the quarterback of Georgia. Was in some great games there at Georgia, and he got injured. He was a freshman starter, and he got injured at Georgia. And then Jacob Fromm came in, and, well, that was the last we saw of Jacob Eason at Georgia. And he transferred to Washington, and, the rest is kind of history. I think that the interesting thing is that Fromm is also in this draft. And, Fromm beat out Eason straight up. And, here he is, here he is ranked well ahead of Fromm in this draft, or at least a spot ahead, right? So what makes people like Eason better than Fromm, at least in the draft rankings? And this, to me, is another one of these combine, dog and pony show things, in that Eason has a rifle arm, but he's not a good decision maker. In fact, I thought Washington was one of the most disappointing teams in all of college football this past season. The Huskies totally underperformed, and I think that Eason was a big part of that. I like guys that know how to win, and while I know Tua knows how to win, I'll give him that edge over Eason, and Herbert certainly knows how to win. Joe Burrow certainly knows how to win, but Jacob Eason at Georgia, he didn't really show that he knows how to win. And at Washington, he showed that he knows how to lose. And I just don't like it. It's like Washington went to the Las Vegas Bowl. He was 22 of 32 for 210 yards with no interceptions and 1 touchdown against Boise. This is really not what we're looking for, It's like his big games are against Eastern Washington and Boise. It's like this was one of the worst years for Washington football that I can remember. And I would say that Jacob Eason was a big part of that. To me, he was a major disappointment. Chris, what more can you say? How much more love can you give to Jacob Eason here?
You gave him more than I was going to, if we're going to be honest. He's just not a guy that I was looking to back at all this season. I can probably count with 1 or 2 fingers the number of times I backed Washington whenever I saw Jacob Eason on the field, because it was just he's got a cannon for an arm, but he folds in the pocket when the pocket's collapsing around him. He tries to do too much. He tries to throw on the run, and that doesn't go over too well for him. He tries to escape the pocket, and none of it works. And I think if he's able to get some poise in the pocket, get some stability around him, have the time to make the decisions, go through his progressions, that's one thing. But from what we saw at Washington, especially last season, it's like you said, in like a blah performance against Boise in the bowl game, it doesn't do very much for me.
Rod, how about you for Jacob Eason? He's got a cannon arm.
He does have a cannon arm. Yep.
I could see him going to the Patriots.
Needs a little more air under his cannon arm.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he also needs to get his head. Needs to get his head into the game.
Yep. I don't see him. Probably more a 3rd round pick somewhere. I definitely don't see him going early in this draft.
So, couple questions here from the audience. Kevin's asking J.K. Dobbins' opinion. I think my opinion on J.K. Dobbins definitely, I would say, improved after the playoffs and what we saw against Michigan late in the season. I think that, to me, the issue I have with Dobbins is that his style of running doesn't make for a very long NFL career. I think he's a guy that can have an impact, but I think it's going to be a 2-3 year impact guy. And I think that to me is part of the problem. I thought it was super impressive to me. The thing that changed my opinion on Dobbins from kind of like an overrated, guy on a really good team with an NFL offensive line playing against college kids, was the way he turned the upfield. is like he got the ball and then he kind of makes his decision really quickly. And like, so he's coming around the line like this. They give him the ball. He kind of looks sort of like Le'Veon Bell does, right? Except Le'Veon Bell kind of is still moving around like that while this guy has made a cut and takes it straight up the field and is super effective. I mean, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards. And I could see him doing that in the NFL, sort of like almost like the way Derrick Henry runs. Makes a decision and he kind of just goes. Derrick Henry, of course, is he's a runaway train and a little bit of a different story than Dobbins. Dobbins might be a little faster than Derrick Henry too, but I think that I really like the way he makes that cut, and I think it is going to be super effective in the NFL because one thing that does not work in the NFL is going side to side like Baker Mayfield trying to create time in the backfield by running around back there. It's like that only works in college. That doesn't work in the NFL. And I think J.K. Dobbins, that's why he is suited to the NFL. And it's something I wouldn't have said 6 months ago. So just, whether I like Ohio State or don't like Ohio State, I know people, they think that like because I like a team or don't like a team, it's how I, that formulating my opinion. Never, ever, ever in the history of betting or any of this stuff. I call it as I see it. And I was wrong about J.K. Dobbins, I feel, and I think that headed to the NFL, to me, like I said, it's not a matter of if he has the talent to play and to make a big impact. I think he's one of those guys that actually, he comes in, he doesn't just play, he can make a big, big impact. But I also believe that, he has a style which would slow him down in a few years. I think the Colts are thinking QB. I do, and I wouldn't be surprised if they traded up, to get one of these other guys. I think that, when they signed Phillip Rivers, they signed him to a 1-year deal. To me, that's not a long-term plan. I don't know. 1-year deals you don't see too often in the NFL. So I would think the Colts are very much looking at QBs, but they might be looking a little further down the list. I think the issue that the Colts have, and I think the Colts is one of those things where it's probably not an urgent thing, but it's probably if he's there, then they have to take him type deal. Because I think the Colts, I think the Colts also need wide receiver too. I'm with you on that one. But I think the Colts, it's one of those situations. It's like if he's there, you have to do it. If he's not there, well then you're going to have to pass and maybe take a QB late and hope that he develops. But I think that one of the issues here for the Colts is that you can't be looking ahead to next year's draft because, number one, it's probably not going to be as good as this year's quarterback draft. And, number two, I don't think the Colts are going to be drafting that high next year. I think the Colts are going to be pretty decent. I mean, Phillip Rivers can lose some games for you, but it'll be interesting to see with Frank Reich if he's a little different. Because Frank Reich is a quarterback, right? So Frank Reich was a quarterback, and he's also was a little bit of a gunslinger himself, So I think there was a lot of Frank Reich, a lot of Phillip Rivers in Frank Reich, and a lot of Frank Reich in Phillip Rivers. I think they're similar players. Those of you not familiar with Frank Reich's playing career, he had the largest comeback in the history of college football at Maryland. He had the largest comeback in the history of the NFL playoffs for the Buffalo Bills. So he's a guy that's like, down 41-3, no problem. We got this. That's Frank Reich, and he's done it. They were losing 41-3 at halftime and won against Miami, who the next year, went to the championship game. He's got something going on. There's something.
What is that?
I don't know. Chris, is that you? Hello? I guess not. Okay.
I don't know. It's all quiet here.
It's all quiet here, too.
No, it's me.
All right.
Well, we know.
So it's April. One thing I wanted to address: it's April Fool's, and I had this whole idea of something to do for April Fool's, but given the environment and everything, We'll just do it on a regular NFL Sunday or something. But I have this whole idea of, it was a spoof of another show, and we'll just say that Rod was going to be the hot chick. Anyways, we talked about it for a while, and today would have been the day. And I had ideas for my dog of the day and stuff that I was going to do. I was going to have them, wear my Rolex and have the ring going and everything, and be like one of these guys with the sunglasses. Hey, you gotta get it, But I just think, given the current environment, I just haven't been up to it, to be honest. I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to hang out with you guys and participate in the Facebook group and stuff, but I know this is tough. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and deny it. Someone said yesterday on the show that, in the comments, like, this is a serious time and no time to joke. And I think we're not joking about what's going on, but it's like, we're also not going to, we're not going to sit here and live in the problem either. It's like, that's not what our show is about, or what our website's about, or anything like that, or anything we do. The next one up is Jake Fromm. Okay. Once again, leaving after his junior year, never won that national championship at Georgia, made it to the championship game his freshman year, never made it back. He's had some good teams, and he's certainly, when you look at these draft boards, for this year and for a lot of years, he's had a lot of help. He's ranked behind Jacob Eason, who he replaced. He's had a lot of experience, playing games. This guy's always played. So I think he's one of those guys who enters the NFL, and here's your Colts guy, type guy, where he's a quality backup. And he can develop into if he just like he was at Georgia, he's that quality backup. I mean, coming out of high school, you have to remember, he was the number one guy, right? He's the guy who took Justin Fields, who's the Heisman leader, the favorite to win the Heisman this year, and made him transfer out of Georgia. He's taken two guys, a guy who's picked to go drafted ahead of him in this year's NFL draft, and a guy who's like one of the favorites to win the Heisman Trophy, and ran them both out of Georgia. So, to see him sit for a year behind a Phil Rivers or something, or, come in relief of a Carson Wentz, I could totally see it, and I could see him being a guy, he's a better Nick Foles. He's a way better Nick Foles,
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's might be his role, and why he's sitting at 74th ranked player and dropping. He's fourth all-time leading passer at Georgia, 78 touchdowns, second all-time. I don't know, Chris. Any knocks here on the 6'2", 220-pound Jake Fromm, who was basically started more than almost any other QB in this draft?
Yeah, well, for Fromm, it's like you said, the arm strength that Eason had that he took with him to Washington, he didn't leave any for Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm, that's probably the one area that I think he needs to work on a little bit. But Jake Fromm, he's got grit. He's a proven winner. So I think that's going to sort of factor into his mindset of coming to the NFL. Granted, he didn't win the national championship, like you said, but he won 10, 11 games every year the 2 years that he was there starting. I definitely think he can make an impact on an NFL roster. And it's like you said, I think the Colts are a great fit for him to sit behind a guy like Phillip Rivers, veteran presence, and I think he can do very well in the NFL.
24 touchdowns and 5 interceptions this past season. He beat Florida 3 times, and as Georgia backers, that's really what they're looking for more than anything else. The losses this year, LSU, they played them tough. They played them as tough as anybody else did, including Clemson and Alabama. I think they played them maybe even tougher than those guys did. Like I said, I think if you're looking for a quarterback that doesn't need to start right away, and probably is okay with it, and to develop, and we've seen some quarterbacks with cannon arms and that go on to do nothing in the NFL. Kyle Bowler, I mean Matthew Stafford has a cannon of cannons, and certainly doesn't mean wins, and certainly doesn't mean good decisions, and it certainly doesn't mean gigantic numbers. I mean, one of the things that, a lot of people are fans of today's NFL, he questioned Jake's durability. He's a 3-year starter that didn't miss a game.
Yep.
I don't. How could you question his durability?
He's calm. He's confident, calm, efficient pocket passer.
Yeah.
He doesn't. I don't think he doesn't have a cannon of an arm, but he can sure distribute the ball around. I think he'd fit good in a nice West Coast offense.
Yeah, I don't know.
He thrives off play action pass. Yeah.
Not really sure. But
where he lands, don't know.
Yeah, I think the Colts or the Eagles are a good fit for him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the Patriots either. Keep going. Go to Jalen Hurts. This is going to be a guy that needs to fit on the right team. He's definitely a quarterback that, he kind of is maybe, to me, he fits in behind Skylar Murray here's the teams that I see for Jalen Hurts. Dallas Cowboys behind Dak Prescott, because Prescott's a guy, once again, that's kind of big and can run the ball if he needs to, and he kind of is that same style as Jalen Hurts. Skylar Murray, who played at Oklahoma, same style where he's not afraid to take off with the football. He's kind of like a Cam Newton type, right? Where he can run the football. But I just think that I don't like him as a pure QB, but then again, I didn't like him at Alabama or at Oklahoma. He went to the national championship game in Alabama. He made it to the playoffs at Oklahoma. So, Chris, what do you think about Jalen Hurts? I think he's a guy that he could possibly contribute up and down the roster here for you too.
Yeah, definitely. I think he can even go to a team that's maybe got a run heavy offense that can maybe factor in, maybe bring some option offense to the NFL. But Jalen Hurts wasn't a guy that I was high on. He did have a great year for Oklahoma, but the problem is that there's been times where he's struggled to read the defense, and he's another one that had issues with decision making. But I can see him being a backup quarterback, at least in his first couple of years, like kind of like a Taysom Hill, like a backup quarterback that can contribute, that can run the ball, that can do a bunch of different little things that can contribute to an offense maybe on a wider spectrum than just playing quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy to Taysom Hill. I think he's a guy that's similar to Taysom Hill. I don't think he's quite as fast as Taysom Hill. Rod?
No, but still kind of same idea. That he could.
Yeah. Kind of like a jack.
His eyes down the field. He's not very good at throwing the ball down the field. His readers are just ugly.
But Taysom Hill can throw the ball down the field. Taysom Hill can pretty much.
Oh yeah,
he's Superman.
I'm not high on Hurts. I don't think he's in trouble.
So now we move into this next group of QBs, and we'll just group them all together. It's Anthony Gordon from Washington State, Nate Stanley from Iowa, Cole McDonald of Hawaii, Tyler Huntley of Utah, Steven Montez of Colorado. I have to say that of this group, Nate Stanley is another guy kind of like Fromm to me, where he could be okay. We see C.J. Beathard over in San Francisco, seeing the field. I think Nate Stanley would be an upgrade, over him. Just my own personal opinion. Cole McDonald, this is a guy with super high upside. Here's a guy that can really throw the ball around. So in Oahu, there's a high school that does produce quarterbacks. Like Rod likes the chain of command on the quarterbacks there. And this Cole McDonald comes from that line of quarterbacks. The guy from Milton from UCF, Cole McDonald, Tua, Tua's brother, Marcus Mariota. They all come from the same lineage. We saw Cole McDonald burst onto the scene in Hawaii, and I thought the game to me that defined Cole McDonald this past season, it was every year he was there, Hawaii was good, and he was benched a couple times, but he can throw the deep ball. He can certainly run kind of like a spread wide open offense. And the other thing about him is that he's tough. He's tough as nails. I do like him, and he is moving up quickly on the NFL draft board. I could see this is where a team that also has a project guy. Like the Steelers seem to always have a project guy. This guy is probably one of the better project guys out there. Tyler Huntley from Utah. I think this guy's way underrated too. I think he's tough as nails also. But he's dropping significantly in this draft. Steven Montez, we talked about him yesterday. I don't know how he's even in the discussion here. Chris, any of these quarterbacks you want to see on your favorite team's roster?
Definitely not Steven Montez. I'll say that much. I'll put that out right out of the gate. But no, I do like the it'll be interesting to see Anthony Gordon. I do think he's got potential to be a strong fit in the right offense, maybe like he did at Washington State. I'm not a fan of Nate Stanley personally. I thought that him having success with Iowa was more predicated on the defense and playing at home. But I am with you on Cole McDonald. I do like what I've seen out of McDonald. And another guy I'm kind of interested in is James Morgan out of FIU. I know he flew under the radar. I only threw 12 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. Threw for over 2,500 yards last year. He's another one I'm going to be kind of watching out for, see if he sneaks under the radar maybe in the later rounds.
I'd say Cole McDonald. I think he's a little bit different than Jameis Winston, but also he comes from a different type of offense than Winston. I think that Cole McDonald's hand was forced at Hawaii. I think he would have liked to have stayed another year, but with Nick Rolovich moving on, that made the decision a little bit easier. On our weekend shows, we talked about Nick Rolovich pretty often and the job that he did at Hawaii. And now he's moved on to Washington State. So I think he's a natural fit there, but Cole McDonald didn't want to stay and see what the aftermath was when Rolovich left. So that's why he's kind of leaving a little early. Rod, any of these guys do it for you? I know if you watch late night football, Cole McDonald is a guy that you're familiar with.
Yep. Yeah, he's a good player there. But none of these guys I want on. These guys all need work.
Yeah, that's where we are in the rankings here. These are guys that are projects, but at the same time, if Tyler Huntley comes in, if you're the Panthers and Teddy Bridgewater goes down and Tyler Huntley comes in, probably not in that bad a shape. You're really not. It's like Bridgewater might not see the field again. I mean, I think that you have that type of ability here with some of these guys. To me, Tyler Huntley, you played at Utah, you played with guys that are NFL age, already, and it's like, I think to me, Nate Stanley, I think that he's a good quarterback and that he plays within himself, and he's not going to, he's he's 6'4", 243 pounds for starters. All right. So this is Ben Roethlisberger size is what he is. And, so he's a good fit for the Steelers. He has won, when it matters most. And 3-0 in bowl games, So I don't know. I think that he's a better quarterback than Chris gives him credit for. He had lost his two top targets this coming into the season. Those two tight ends that were both drafted in the first round. And he still, they were a great second half team. Just showed a lot of guts. I like guts, and I think he's got a lot of it. When you look at his numbers, he has much higher completion percentages than a Jacob Fromm. He just doesn't have the overall numbers. 16 touchdowns and 7 interceptions isn't going to do it for anybody. But if he's Daniel Jones' backup in New York for the Giants, probably is a logical fit there. I don't know how Daniel Jones would take it. Drafted another QB so soon. Well, now there's kind of the everybody else. We're at that point of the show where there's everybody else. Bryce Perkins from Virginia, Kevin Davidson, one of two Ivy League quarterbacks that are moving up the charts pretty quickly. Brian Lewerke from Michigan State, who I don't think we're going to see anybody take a shot on him. Probably be a free agent. Mason Fine, short. Is really the number, the knock on him out of North Texas. Josh Love, Riley Neal from Vandy, Khalil Tate, who never really reached that potential. He had that good freshman season, and that was kind of it for him. Nathan O'Rourke from Ohio, once again flying under the radar. Tommy Stevens from Mississippi State, who, you guys have seen the picture of my dog attacking me when the Tennessee-Mississippi State game was on TV. Miserable quarterback play. Not even sure why he's on the board. But Nick Tiano from Chattanooga, Jacob Knipp from Northern Colorado. So these are really, from smaller schools. And Kurt Rawlings from Yale, the biggest mover on the entire board, up 501 places. But really, Kevin Davidson of Princeton, Kurt Rawlings of Yale, but the biggest mover on the board of the guys who were already on the board was Cole McDonald, up 130 places. Chris, any of these guys, I think Bryce Perkins is a guy that is going to make it in this league. I think he's a guy that can play, and I think he can run, he can pass, he can do everything. He's kind of like what you said, like a Taysom Hill. Shea Patterson, someone's going to take a flyer on this guy. It's not going to be me. Chris, anything else out there you see on this board?
Yeah, I do like the possibility of seeing Jake Luton out of Oregon State. He's a solid senior, threw for 2,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, 3 picks. Oregon State, he was a big reason why Oregon State had the amount of success that they did this season. So
here's my pick for him is the Texans. They love tall quarterbacks, man. They love those, they love them. It's like they love guys that are like, abnormally tall for the position. And Luton fits the bill. It's like, 6'7", we got a place for you.
Yeah, and I definitely think one other one I kept an eye on. I watched a couple Big Sky football games this year, and Case Cook is out of Northern Arizona. Threw for 4,100 yards. 31 touchdowns, 7 picks this season, completed 60% of his passes. I think he's going to be one of those backups that, gets a shot further down the road, and I think he'll probably cash in on it.
Yeah, I think he's got a shot.
I like Mason Fine. I don't care if he's short or completes 60%, over 60% of his passes. He's only 5'9", but that doesn't show. He's got heart and fight.
Yeah, I think the issue with the short quarterbacks, and of course I'm short, so it's like I feel for these guys, and I'm certainly always rooting for them. But the thing is that they have an offensive and defensive line. Like Calais Campbell's like 6'8". It's like you got to see over the top of these guys, and that was the knock on Drew Brees. And I think we saw it in the postseason with Drew Brees. We've seen it a lot from Drew Brees because Drew Brees throws from his tippy toes a bunch. And it works if you have a little bit of time. It does not work when you're under pressure. And that was why the Dolphins passed on him twice, which, how you take Jamar Fletcher over this guy, I just still, I still can't get past it. It's been how many years now?
I can't believe we paid that guy who was retired to come back to play. What was his name? More money. He was going to be an announcer. He was all lined up.
Jay Cutler.
He played for the Bears.
Jay Cutler.
Oh,
God.
Yeah. What?
They had Jay Cutler and Brock Osweiler on the same roster, man. That's how you get fired. That's how you get fired. That's Gase. That's all Gase. That was all Gase. Anyways, I think we had a pretty good, productive discussion here about the quarterbacks. And thank you guys for joining us. And we'll be back tomorrow. If you guys have anything you want us to talk about or anything you guys want to talk about, throw it out. Chris, we got any Madden games for us or sim games? We are a perfect 6-0 on this show on the sim games.
So that's what we were talking before the show. The Lakers crushed the Clippers yesterday, 111-79, despite being 2.5-point underdogs. The Giants went up 7-0 over the Cowboys and lost 51-10. And the Broncos beat Washington 31-13.
What do we got today?
So today at 2:00, you have the Titans at the Jaguars. Titans by 3.5. Over under 51.5.
Jaguars.
I'm leaning towards the Titans in that one.
Nick Foles will be the quarterback there for the Jags, and I'm going to guess that his numbers on a machine are probably pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. I like the Jags here as well. I'll give you the Jags plus. And
the Titans were one of those teams where it translates onto the field. Like Ryan Tannehill isn't going to have good computer numbers. He's not. He's going to be an interception machine, and Marcus Mariota is going to be pretty similar. He's going to be a guy that gets injured.
True. Okay. 4:30 is 49ers at the Cardinals. 49ers minus 8.5. Over under 51.5.
I'm going to take the Cardinals plus 8.5. It's too many points for a computer game.
It's a tough one for me. Who's home? The Cardinals?
Cardinals.
Yeah. It's one of those division games, too. It's like, got to give me the Cardinals.
I got the 49ers in this one. So it's the first time Rod and I have disagreed. 49ers minus 8.5. I think I'm dead there, to be honest with you. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I'm going to probably lean towards the Cardinals as well. I don't feel good about it, that's for sure. Packers at Steelers. Packers minus 3. Over under 55.5.
Packers minus 3. I'm going to go with the Steelers there. I think that in that one,
go with
Roethlisberger will be playing in that game. So I think that I'll take the Steelers. And my guess is the wide receiver issues aren't nearly as exposed as they were in real life. I'm going to take the Steelers.
I'm gonna have to see if he's starting. I'm gonna have to see who they have starting for the Steelers. I don't know if it's possible to see that before the game, but the last one, Chargers at Raiders. Chargers minus 3.5. Over under 54.5.
Who is it?
The Chargers at the Raiders.
What's the line?
Chargers minus 3.5. Over under 54.5.
Love the Chargers there.
Yeah, got to go with the Chargers there.
Yep. the expectations.
They're just a better team on paper,
On paper,
and that's how you
way
have
better
to
team.
have cat. Yeah, way better.
The
team
Raiders
on
are
paper. And
drafting
that's how you
first,
have
you know.
games. Yeah.
Wow, we got a full lineup. So is it 4 games or how many we got?
If you have 4 games.
All right, so I have the Jags plus 3.5, the 49ers minus 8.5. That's the one I like the least. The Steelers, and then the Chargers minus 3.5. I'm not loving these games. How about you? And Rod, who do you have on these? I know you're with me on the Jags, but I think you got the Cardinals.
Best bet on the board here today is the Chargers minus 3.5.
Yeah, I like that one too. We're all on that one.
Yeah, that'd be the top play of the board. There was an early one that's already started. It's in the first quarter, and it's 10-3 Browns over the Jets.
All right, well, that wraps up today's show. And we'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about, but if you have anything you want to talk about, we can continue on with the NFL draft, or we can talk about some sports betting stuff in general. But I'll talk to you guys later.